way. So, hey everyone, this is your favorite friend, Jay or Jaylan Salah, as you formerly know her, film critic at Geeks Vibe Nation and In Session Film. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Kyle Hausmann-Stokes and Sean Quinn of Yankee, an Argentine-American dramedy. I love this so much. First of all, thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
But it was so funny. Like, I love culture clash. Like, as you can tell, like, I am not white, I'm Egyptian. So for me, the idea of culture clash, talking between different cultures and the way even love, even friendships can sometimes go beyond the barriers of language, the barriers of cultures, is something amazing. And when it's done through comedy, I think this is the best way to express it. So I want to ask you, why this particular idea that you decided to co-create?
Totally.
Sure. Well, Shanky, and it's pronounced Shanky actually
Thank
because that's
you.
the Argentine way of doing it. Like they do the sh sound for Y's. It's actually based on my true life story of becoming a father in Argentina and how I ended up in Buenos Aires.
Wow. Okay. Okay, can I just know more? Because this is even more exciting now.
Yeah, I mean it really does happen how the pilot unfolds. I tried to donate sperm in college, following the example of my roommates for a quick buck.
I was there. We were in college together. I remember. This is verifiable.
Yeah, he was there. I was denied twice, and so I just thought, my boys didn't swim. It wasn't going to work out for me to be a father. And years later, I was in Barcelona, met an Argentine, had a weekend romance, and got the call a few weeks later that she was pregnant. And so kind of challenged everything I thought possible. He was there for it. And, but then I made the decision to go down to Argentina and get a paternity test. And I ended up staying. And the happy ending to the story is that I have a beautiful 5-year-old daughter down there in Buenos Aires. And I live there. I've lived there for the last 5 years.
Oh, this even makes it more exciting. I think the beauty that I felt while watching it is the authenticity in the storytelling. And now I understand why, but without even knowing this story, like this feels authentic. This doesn't feel like someone cutting from, like the surface. This feels like someone who has been through an experience. This is why I was going to ask, like, how did you come up with such details? Even I think the details in Josh's room, like with the Chinese food, like bucket, the thing that we just love as non-Americans to watch in movies and feel like, wow, I just want to try Chinese food there because of this, like bucket and all the stories and even the way the interactions differed inside Josh's head than when Sophia is actually like communicating. But what I love too is how sometimes like different languages call for different, like interactions, like the emotions are there. But when we're speaking different languages, sometimes the communication, I think in the beginning, it's kind of rocky, but then we reach an ultimatum. So I want to ask you, like, because you have like an amazing Argentine actress and then you have an American actor, how was the communication? How did you guys manage it? And how did you guys make them together work out, like the best so that we see them in harmony, but at the same time understand how in the beginning they were back and forth?
Totally. Well, we're the same as you. We love culture clash, and we're both we're lovers of Argentina. As Sean mentioned a moment ago, he's been living in Argentina now for many years. I lived in Argentina kind of as a foreign exchange student in high school, and have gone back many times over the years. And we've traveled through Argentina together. We just love the country, the culture, the people, the language, the food, the music, all of it. And so it just kind of, this was in COVID where this baby of the idea of a series kind of came to be where, it seemed like there was something there to tell kind of a story about parenthood, but also about being a fish out of water. And I think you mentioned earlier about kind of like that cultural, tactile authenticity. That's just all the stuff that we love about Argentina. And, so much of this ensemble family that's Sophia's family is pulled from my Argentinian family and all the folks that Sean has met. So we really just filled it up with all of the stuff that we experienced as Yankees. I mean, that name Yankee, as Sean mentioned, like that's all I can remember from my first trip to Argentina is they called me, puto Shanky, like I'm just always that person, but with love, talking about the actress, who plays Sophia, the co-lead. That's Delfina Chavez. Yeah, forget about it. She's such a big deal for folks who are from Argentina or South America. They will definitely know Delphi and her family. And Rowan Kahn, who's the American who plays Josh, does not speak Spanish. I mean, he's got like that, high school, maybe a couple semesters of college Spanish, but definitely there's not a Spanish speaker. So all of that, as he mentioned in a different interview, was very just authentic for him because he just did not understand what was happening. And we really leaned into that. A lot of times when I would be directing on set, I would give direction in Spanish and Rowan would be totally left out of the conversation. And I think so we tried to make it very, very real for him. And I think it played.
It translates so well. So where did you find the comedy? I mean, it's always like even when you're introduced to a partner's family for the first time, there's always the comedy. There's always the trying to adapt to the situation, the people. Like, I know that. But the comedic sense of humor and the comedic sense was so high. Like, I was laughing. And I felt that it's so funny. And this is one of the things that I love. So are you guys like trained in comedy? Have you had like expertise, experience as comedians, or does this just flow from real life for you?
We've just had, like 14 years experience of making fun of each other.
Exactly.
And that really just that's how we played off. But actually, I mean, a lot of the situations were based on versions of what happened. Like I showed up and the mother of my child's, siblings were these two massive, like the tallest guys in Argentina. And they answered the door together, like as if they were twins. And it was very intimidating and funny looking back. I mean, all of this is funny looking back, right?
Yeah.
But I think giving it distance too, like enabled us to find the comedy. And Kyle, having lived down here, he saw the comedy firsthand with the Argentine family he was living with too.
Well, like Sean said, like that's very much like our personality, our sensibility. Again, we go way back. Like Sean and I met in Madrid, studying abroad in Madrid, and just I don't know, life is funny and weird. And, I feel like the world is so heavy right now, especially, and people are just looking for some escapism. And we really wanted to be faithful to a lot of like the hallmarks of a rom-com genre, and that it should be funny because I also feel like the more you can get people laughing, you can get them to relate with the characters and be on their journey. And that's when some of the deeper stuff hits, like the pathos and the drama, specifically about Josh's reasons, which are really Sean's reasons for deciding to go to Argentina. On its surface, it's about determining like a very scientific, technical thing. Am I or am I not the father? But there's deeper subterranean things going on there too about Josh, who didn't have a good relationship with his biological father or his stepfather, and this like legacy that looms over him to not be that. I'm not gonna be that. And this young woman, Josh is in love with her. He thinks there's something more there, but more than that is like, you're not gonna tell me that I am an absent father. So it's a funny conceit to even come to this idea that there's two young people that are in an unplanned pregnancy and it's going to happen, but out of spite. For both of them, they're doing it out of spite, one to their family, one to their legacy. And I don't know. It's a complicated thing, just like life, and you have to laugh at it.
Delfina Chavez is this beautiful, beautiful actress, and she's also so funny. So I want to know the casting. Like, when did you decide, like, we want to cast her? Was the casting her from the beginning? And what did you do to communicate with her? Because she was a big deal in Argentina. So I want to know the casting because she kind of like took my breath away. I was like, okay, Scarlett, who are you, girl? Because you're so beautiful.
ScarJo.
She does have a
She's
scar,
Argentinian ScarJo for sure.
Definitely. And at the same time, funny. And as a biased woman, I love it when a beautiful woman is so funny. Like, I'm all for her. So I want to know everything about the casting.
She did such a good job, and we we were lucky to find an amazing casting director in Argentina. We had two. One, our fantastic one in LA, Jamie Castro, helped us get Rowan. And then we had another casting director in Argentina who
Yair Said,
Yair
one of the biggest casting directors in Argentina.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. And he, found, like 15 amazing actors that came in for the role. And we saw Delfina and we
But she read, we had her read, we had everybody read, we got to trade on the currency a little bit of being Shankies, whereas, here's this American group that's going to come in and do this thing about Argentina. So I think there was some curiosity there. And speaking of spite, I think maybe some people were interested to be a part of it because this sounds interesting. Others are like, I need to be a part of this so that these people represent Argentina, you know. So yeah, Delphi came in and she just killed it. And to your point too, like she's so dynamic. She's so beautiful. The camera loves her, but she has that comedic timing and chops. And the big zinger was the chemistry with Rowan. You know, would they have chemistry? Because, you know, rom-com doesn't work if it's not there. So I mean, just geographically, they weren't able to be together until they were. So it was a big risk. And hopefully you felt some chemistry between them.
Very, and I like the contrast between them too, which is what I want to ask, like specifically Sean, but I also think Kyle too. When you're casting yourself, how do you do, like when I'm always thinking about myself, like I want to make a film about myself or a part of my life, I will try to come up with the furthest or the closest or something hybrid. So I want to know when you're casting Rowan, who is great, by the way, and I love even that she's the confident, kind of like in a way she's a lead, and but he's really sensitive, but he has this strength and has this authenticity and this originality about him that she loved, because I felt even from the beginning that she had feelings for him. There were things about him that attracted her. Maybe she felt his truth, and a lot of people didn't see it. And that showed even in the way she was looking at him. And I think this is a testament to her brilliance as an actress. So casting Rowan, knowing this Sean is in a way Rowan, how did that go?
Well, I think you know, by the time we got, you know, like Kyle said, it was a COVID baby, right? So by the time, you know, it'd been a couple years that we had been working on it, and so this character had become Josh, you know, and it wasn't, and Kyle brought so much to this character, and we reimagined it that it wasn't just me anymore, right? And so I think that was a big part of it. But you know, in casting Rowan, and apologies for the sound.
Could have happened to me.
Casting Rowan, like we, you know, the opening scene that he did was a comedic one, and then we had him do a callback for more dramatic scene, and he just nailed both. And he had that vulnerability, that truth that he could just express on both sides. And I think that's what drew us to him, not being similar to me or.
Yeah, and I think Rowan also just has this hybrid combination chameleon thing of, I feel like he really very much has like that traditional leading man vibes. Like he has that confidence, but also is a little bit awkward, comfortably awkward in his own skin. And I think Sean and I also, as people who just are wanderlusts, we love to travel, and but also just being very aware of how we present in the world, especially in an international place, to be aware of like the ugly American stereotype. And we actually even have a character in the film, Josh's friend, you know, who's called Poker Matt, you know, the guy that he meets at the club, because we all know that person, and that is, you know, we don't want to pretend that doesn't exist. So we needed to find somebody that could be relatable to a lot of Americans, people that want to travel, but I think that also could be relatable to Argentinians and South Americans, or just anybody who's not American, to be like, okay, I've seen this kind of person come down here or travel. But as you said, and it's so kind and sweet of you, that Josh's heart, he's so genuine. His heart is in the right place. And as much as the Tiger Mom is not impressed by his financial situation, like I think that's the coolest thing about him, that he's into the effective altruism movement, and he volunteers at a cat shelter, and he's doing an app that is for saving the world one penny at a time. Like this guy's got big aspirations. He's got a huge heart. So I think we could all look up to that.
And I love that you guys kind of humanized him too, because sometimes when I see like these rom-coms and it's like the beauty queen and then the regular guy, you're always like, why would she love? There's nothing, no redeemable character. He's a very good character. He's a very good person. He has a good soul. And what I felt that she noticed the soul, maybe before everyone else. And this is what attracted her to him. She felt something. She felt like this could be a good father to my child. So I felt it, and I'm in love with this. Okay, so I'm just gonna be complimenting him. Oh, okay. As my final question to you, which was a scene that you both felt, maybe when you were like shooting it, okay, good, but then later on when you were like in the editing room, or maybe just for a glance, wow, we never expected it to be that good. We're making something. This is magic. And maybe when you were writing it, it wasn't the same as when you saw it later on, either on the monitor or in the editing room?
For me, I think it's towards the end of the pilot, and Sophia has taken Josh to the cemetery, one of the big famous cemeteries in Argentina, which is already just visually beautiful and something you don't see in the US. And they're walking, and for the first time, Sophia asks Josh about his father, okay? And he has a story about it, about how his dad used to bring him sandwiches from Hardee's a specific way, and that's, you know, that's something that Sean pulled directly from his own life. And I think you really see Sophia seeing Josh in that moment. And like you said earlier, like seeing his truth, and then also Josh kind of standing up for himself when she says, "You guys are similar in a certain way," and he says, "I'm nothing like him," and walks off. And then a moment later, we see them in front of Sophia's grandmother's tomb, and she introduces him, and we see them hold hands for the first time. And I remember that day. It was very hot. It was our last day of shooting. Everybody, you know how it goes, and it was just a lot to do. So there was like a lot of stress in directing that scene and pulling it together. But yeah, getting in the edit, watching it come together, and then finally landing the music and everything. And yeah, it felt like that was the series in a nutshell for me.
Wow. Okay, and Sean.
I think the scene I was most worried about was like the early you know, when the opening scene with Josh, like when he's in his bedroom and, you know, gets into some antics there. And I was like, how's this gonna play? Like, is it too, like, I don't know, sophomoric humor, that kind of thing. But like I think seeing it, like it really worked. And then the lead into where he picks up the photo of his family, like I think those elements really came together when it was edited together. And I saw it and I was like, oh wow, this works as an opening. It has that juxtaposition of the comedy and the dramatic play off each other really well.
There's a
Wow.
lot more scene there too that was on the editing room floor, but it gets a little bit crazier with the photos and Josh anyway, and then the mother calls and it got a little, yeah,
The mother is actually on the voice of the mother, like yeah.
but in the end, you know, shorter is better. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so I love Shanky and I love talking to you. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank
My
you so
pleasure.
much.
Thanks
Yeah.
for having us. Yeah.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
You too.